Thanks very much, Cheryl. Cheryl mentioned about our employee conference, and yeah, I chaired that conference, and one of the tricks that we did to get everybody in is exactly what you guys just did, is close the doors. Everybody gets the picture, get in the room. And Cheryl also didn't say that at the national park, I had to go around and find out where my BlackBerry worked so that I could edit the article. You know, I had to hide from my husband because he was like, "You're not working, are you?" I'm like, "No, I'm not working." So, anyways, thanks very much, Cheryl, for hounding me. It's been a great experience. I'm so glad to have been involved with this. Yes, you are very determined, and you have endless energy. As far as myself, Cheryl's introduced me. I've been at Metro Vancouver for over 10 years. I am an engineer. I don't work in HR, and although it does sound very intriguing, especially given the experience that we've had recently on learning management systems and training. Yeah, I'm going to have to stick to my notes here, because otherwise I'm going to go way over. There's just so much to talk about. When Cheryl said tip of the iceberg, it's very true. So part of the reason why we've been so busy over the last year and why Cheryl has had to hound us is that we just started up a 470 million gallon per day filtration plant that is going to ultimately filter 2 of our 3 water sources. So it's been a very, very busy time this year. Today, I'm going to tell you what's been our context over the past number of years, not just last year, how that's changed our workforce, some of the things that we've done to deal with those changes, and what did and didn't work. You're going to see similarities from what I'm going to talk about with some of the things that you've heard this morning, and I'm sure some of the things you'll hear this afternoon. I know our situation won't be exactly the same as some of yours. We've gone through some tremendous growth over the last number of years, but hopefully you'll get something out of it that will be applicable to your organization. So what I'll start with is a story. We started with e-learning back in about 98, 99 was our first foray into it with one of our, a major upgrade to one of our treatment plants. And when we launched the e-learning program for the operators, most of them were absolutely ecstatic. It was such a change for them. They had been doing what many people, would say, that on the job, if you want to know how a pump works, wait till the next one breaks and then you're going to learn how it works. And it's just, it was just kind of learn as you go, that sort of thing. And when we brought in the e-learning program, they just loved it. However, I remember we were reviewing, the success of it and talking to people what they thought about it. And one fellow, he looked at me and he said, well, I'd really just rather read the O&M manual. And I was completely blown away, because I thought, that would be like the most boring thing in the whole world to me. And to a lot of the operators as well. But it made me realize, and it made a number of us realize, there are so many different ways that people learn. Some people are very much book learners. Some people are talking learners. Some people are experiential, tactile learners. And that's really important to take into consideration. So some of what I talk about today is going to touch on that. So, okay. So just a little background on Metro Vancouver. We're a federation of 22 municipalities. We've got 1 electoral area, and just recently last year, 1 Treaty First Nation joined. We provide regional services such as water, wastewater, solid waste, air quality, and parks. We're 1,400 employees that serve about a population of about 2.2 million people, which is 2/3 the population of British Columbia. And we're located in the lower mainland of BC. Now there's a laser here, I believe. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Vancouver, this is Vancouver, here's Seattle, and for those that are interested in the Olympics, here's Whistler. So, and yeah, things are pretty busy with that coming up too. Just a little background on our water system. We have a surface water supply from 3 closed protected watersheds, actually I think quite similar to Seattle. And we've got 310 miles of transmission mains, 22 reservoirs, and 15 pump stations. Our wastewater system, 33 pumping stations, 275 miles of trunks and interceptor sewers. I think I have to thank Sharon, actually, for these slides, because they've already been translated into imperial units. 3 secondary treatment plants and 2 primary treatment plants. I'm sure this is going to be very similar to the experience that many of you have. By the way, I'm against lots of words on slides, but I knew that you guys would be provided with these packages, so I'm not going to read everything on every slide. So, changing workforce is going to be huge, obviously, for us and for many of you over the next number of years. Expanding infrastructure needs, for us, that's just been really, really at the fore, both in terms of new facilities, but also it's going to be with maintaining our existing facilities in the future, and extensive application of technology. I believe Sharon spoke potentially, I think it was at the last workforce workshop like this, about our initiatives into optimizing our water distribution and wastewater collection system, which has been one of the big changes for technology for us. And in terms of workforce, one of the big things that's going to be happening over the next number of years is another large city near us is going to be building, I believe, 5 new wastewater treatment plants. And we're expecting that that's likely going to have an impact on our wastewater workforce as they may be interested in moving. But we'll hopefully keep them. Okay, so water system changes. I'm going to go really quickly through this just to show how tremendously different things have been over the last number of years, and how in such a short time frame. 1940s was when we first started treating our water with chlorination. 80s and 90s is when we built some rechlorination stations in the distribution system. And in 2000 is when we brought in a ozone treatment plant at one of our sources. This is what I referred to before. This is actually, the site is actually still in construction. There's just basically finishing off a number of things, although the plant is producing water now. What have we got here? Oh yeah, also last year we replaced our entire SCADA system just because we weren't busy enough with a new treatment plant. And we moved that to the new treatment plant. In 2011, we're expecting to bring online a UV disinfection facility at our Coquitlam source. And in 2013, we're going to complete tunnels that connect 2 of our sources, and that water is actually going to be brought into that same plant that I showed you before, and we'll have 2 of our 3 sources filtered. And our 3rd source is actually the water quality is good enough that we can just treat it with UV for now. Well, UV, chlorine, various other things, but unfiltered source. Water treatment operations. Okay, just a couple of slides to give you an idea of what this has meant. So those are major infrastructure changes. In 2005, it was basically a staff of 10 in water treatment, small group with multiple job descriptions. And in 2007, just 2 years later, we were planning, basically bulking up for the startup of the filtration plant, which brought us to a staff of 40. There we looked at more of a parallel structure with standardized job descriptions, really looking at being able to have mobile staff that could work within any of the different water treatment facilities. And then just in the last couple of years, we reorganized, and the control of our water distribution and wastewater collection system was brought under the same umbrella as water treatment. And that actually increased our staff. It also, with that and with the filtration plant, we brought in a number of engineers basically to support a much bigger workforce. So if you look at this, I mean, you're talking about in 5 years we went from a staff of 10 to a staff of 60 just in the water group. So, workforce change strategies to deal with that tremendous shift. Accelerated succession, some of you might call this grandfathering. So basically looking at existing staff, putting them basically in new roles with new skills. Hiring multi-skilled workers. We've got much more technology in our equipment now, so hiring some staff that have instrumentation experience. Onboarding, so hiring staff, you know, we've got a number of people that are going to be retiring, so onboarding, we've been doing some hiring early, so bringing on new staff to overlap with those existing staff. So it's not really increasing our complement, just overlapping them for a couple of years and letting them learn from each other. Innovative hiring. At the filtration plant, we actually hired a number of our staff from our wastewater treatment plants, and obviously they needed to get some water certificates. And what we did was we partnered with a private utility in the province of Alberta and sent our staff there for 1 or 2 years, and they actually worked in the plant there so they could get their experiential learning, and that would be contributed towards their operator certification. And job redesign. This is something that was required for our distribution and collections control system staff as a result of the increased optimization of those tasks.